I was going to give this drash last night, but then ended up needing to speak about Israel last night and giving this drash this morning, but wanted you to know I did speak about Israel last night in case you're wondering. And I have a little taste of it from here too. So Frida, you read our traditional Chol HaMo'eid parsha from Ki Tisa, and you read the verse 18, that tells us that we should observe Passover in the month of Aviv. And Aviv means spring, and elsewhere in Torah, this month is called Nisan, the month that we're in. What's notable about this verse is not only that the month of Nisan is called by a different name, but that the holiday of Passover is actually not called Passover in what you read today, but it's also called by a different name. It's called Chag HaMatzot. And in the verse, it is defined as the set time when people eat matzah, when Jews eat matzah for 7 days as commanded. It doesn't say anything about Pharaoh, or about plagues, or about the Sea of Reeds, or about even freedom, just matzah. Our best exposition about the meaning of matzah shows up in the Haggadah, in the Aramaic passage called Halach Ma'anya. And we hold up the matzah and we say 4 things about it. And I quoted from the Freedom Haggadah last night, which was produced by the activists who are fighting for democracy in Israel. And in it, Yishai Sarid taught this about Halach Ma'anya. We open with a reminder from the past. This is the bread of affliction that our forefathers ate in the land of Egypt. A social injunction immediately follows. The hungry shall come and eat. The needy shall come and celebrate Passover. The traumas we suffered do not exempt us from our moral obligations today. Then comes the hope for redemption. This year we're here. Next year we'll be in the land of Israel. This is the hope that throbbed in the hearts of generations of Jews in their lands of exile. And finally, the striving for freedom. This year we are slaves. Next year we will be free. To review, matzah means 1, our ancestors suffered. 2, therefore we're obligated to others who are suffering now. 3, we once were refugees. But 4, we believe that redemption is coming. That slavery, exile, oppression, hunger, homelessness will come to an end for us and for everyone. Matzah reminds us that not only were we slaves, but also that we were refugees. The Exodus story is, of course, a story about refugees, people who fled inhumane conditions and found themselves wandering, seeking a promised land, seeking a safe harbor, seeking a place where they could live and be sustained in peace. When we hold up our matzah, we're saying that we have a role to play in creating that safe harbor for others, even if we ourselves don't know what it's like to eat the bread of affliction out of necessity. We don't have to look that far back to remember this experience in our own families. We're therefore obligated to others who are refugees now. In February, the Biden administration announced a new rule called the Circumvention of Lawful Pathways. Have you heard about this? It says that people who passed through other countries on their way here and did not complete the asylum process in each of the countries they passed through are not eligible to seek asylum in the United States. This came out of the Biden administration in February. This rule would effectively close the southern border of the United States to asylum seekers. Rabbi Victor Reinstein reminds us that in the Torah, the infamous city of Sodom was destroyed because, quote, it was illegal to offer asylum or sanctuary to those approaching from elsewhere, however desperate their straits. And there are quite a lot of midrashim to this effect. We also know that the most often repeated mitzvah emerging from the Exodus story is love the stranger, for you know the heart of the stranger, for you were strangers in the land of Egypt. Some version of this mitzvah appears 36 times in the Torah, more than any other mitzvah that we have. The 19th century German rabbi, often seen as the founder of modern Orthodoxy, Rabbi Samson Raphael Hirsch, said, "The treatment accorded by a state to the aliens living within its jurisdiction is the most accurate indication of the extent to which justice and humanity prevail in that state." This is why Sodom is our ultimate example of evil. Throughout our history in the United States, we have been unable to agree on a posture or a policy around immigration. with the Statue of Liberty and Emma Lazarus' New Colossus on one side, and the know-nothings, the nativists, and America First ideology on the other. For most of our history, refugees, asylum seekers, and immigrants have found themselves wading through this ambivalence and this fluctuation in policy between these poles as they seek to make a home here, often living in the threat of deportation as they try to work and bring their gifts to our nation. But this week's Torah portion and Haftarah portion have another theme beyond Chag HaMatzot, the festival of unleavened bread, and that is second chances. The portion of Ki Tisa read on this holiday includes an invitation. It wasn't the part we read today, but it's there. It includes an invitation to Moses from God to try again, to replace the tablets that he shattered at the foot of the mountain. And this time, for those same tablets, or new tablets, but in the same image, to be carved by the hand of God. And then in the Haftarah portion, the prophet Ezekiel has his vision of the dry bones, as Abel read, which is the ultimate biblical affirmation of the timelessness of hope, that there is never, ever a deadline. It is never, ever too late for a new beginning. That's what spring represents. That's what Passover represents. If ancient Israel could be freed from bondage after 430 years, surely America can choose to become a just and humane land, as measured by the way we treat the strangers in our midst and those who are trying to find refuge here. Most of us have concluded our seders, but we have 5 more days of eating matzah. Perhaps sometimes, when we bring it to our lips, we'll think about how it is never too late to love the stranger. Shabbat shalom.